See who's in here. Howdy do, zip ties and bias plies. You guys already know. Let me set this guy up here. Give me a second. The barn is a disaster right now, but that's okay. I'm fine. Oh, orientation locked. What does that mean? Oh, okay. I guess it doesn't want me to flip the camera around. There. We'll place this little fella right here. That's pretty good. You know what? Maybe I should probably use the front camera. I won't be able to read any of you guys' comments otherwise. No sense hanging out if I can't see anything. Give me a second here. Let me get a brew. I'm just literally coming off of working like, I don't know, 10 hours, 15 hours on the mega cab. It's quite a long day. People are going to think I'm DD Speed Shop drinking all these Coca-Colas. But basically, I brought us to the RX-7. If you guys have any questions, going forward on any of the builds, it's not a bad time to ask. We haven't done one of these since, merch was supposedly going to be a thing. That got side railed pretty heavily at the end of the day. Oh, geez. I even got some dirt and some steel and a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just covered in, steel, all that stuff. Either way. But no, I think if we go over this, I see some questions all throughout the videos on a lot of fellas. Stuff that I think is going to be easily answered in person, live, plus, at the end of the day, you guys get the inside scoop. If you want to know anything, that way you don't have to wait like 2 or 3 weeks at a time to see how progress and stuff is going. I've been meaning to do a live stream for the longest time, but then everything that happened with my dad and all that stuff, it basically just pushed everything back. So I think we're in the right frame of mind now that I can say hello to you guys again. So, hello. No. But in case anyone's wondering, since you got in, basically, if you guys got any questions about any of the builds, anything that's kind of picking your brain, Mega Cab, International, RX-7, F-150, square body Chevrolet that's been inside the damn barn for the last, 4 years, let me know. I'll put it in the chat too. Hopefully you guys don't mind seeing my ugly mug right up close for a second. I gotta type something. Live chat. How do you do this? Can I not type? Oh, I can't type. Well, okay, never mind. Can't type. You guys are gonna have to do the typing for me. I guess it doesn't let me type or do anything, so is what it is. I was gonna put in the chat if anyone has any questions and stuff like that, because sometimes people, they don't like to, but it's okay. But no, RX-7, I guess we'll just start talking about him. That's kind of why I brought you guys over here. I get a lot of questions on, do I own, oh, you know what? We gotta turn that just a slight titch. There you go. There, now you can see the whole rotary, or what's left of it anyway. See, the RX-7 back here, this little fella, for anyone that wants to know, it's a 302 swapped RX-7 with a T5 5-speed, and, it was going to have a 31 spline 8.8 sitting on the ground right now. We never got around to it. Wasn't Ian last year? Maybe I've got the name wrong of the hurricane. I'm not a meteorologist, so you might be very, very correct. Let me see here. Might be like % correct. It's Hurricane Lee. Ian was the one that basically took out Prince Edward Island, took out Nova Scotia last year. You're 100% correct on that one. But anyway, RX-7, 302 swap. T5 5-speed. It has, I think it was a 410 gear ratio and an LSD from, geez, GSL LE. Not a huge Mazda fella. But basically, quick story. We put that engine in there 2 years ago. There's a couple videos on the channel. They're pretty buried now. Not gonna lie. But we got that guy swapped in, running, drove it around a little bit. It's been parked up for the last year and a half, 2 years, basically. Stripped it out, you know. We were gonna put an 8.8 31 spline in it. Here, I'll flip you guys around here. I'll take you right by the hand. There you go. Lead your way. So, let me flip this. Kind of the state that she's in. This is the 8.8 31 spline, and this is the main reason why this guy never left the barn. See, ever since this was built, it used to have base model brakes, drum brakes on the back, disc brake on the front. Well, we got our hands on a donor. It was a top trim level. I think it was a GSL LE, or I might be completely wrong on the name. Excuse me. But either way, we swapped in the 410 LSD diff because and that's the entire differential, the entire axle, I should say. And that's because, you know, finding stuff for these cars is like hen's teeth around here. So we just swapped the complete axle, new brakes, all that stuff. But what we didn't know at the time is it's almost impossible to get rear brake calipers for the high trim level axle. Who would have thought? The bolt pattern's slightly different. The rotors are slightly different. Thus, you know, the rear calipers are slightly different. So when we took that on and we threw all the stuff, when it came time to buy, I couldn't find the stuff. So it's just been sitting for a little bit. So this was our solution. This is an 8.8 31 spline. I believe it's 373 ratio and an LSD. It's out of like a 96 Explorer. They come factory disc, and these disc, they have a drum on the inside right here. How's it going, Jack? How's it going? But anyway, it has a drum on the inside, rotor. So it's a considerable upgrade, and when you're talking girth, you know, this guy can't even put my arm around it or my hand. That one, you can grab the entire thing. So putting it inside is going to be pretty good. We made brackets. I don't even know where they are at this point, but we made brackets to put this guy in. Just never got around to welding it. So we put the other diff back in, and we were going to drive it this year, but we needed to put longer studs on this fella right here. So when we bought studs, they were this size. Everything was going to work out fine. I don't know if I can take that off. No, it's barren on. But anyway, the spline section right here is actually a lot smaller than the hole. So basically, studs are wrong. Can't put the tires. There's only like one thread that goes on. It's unsafe to drive that way. So it's just been sitting. Basically, that's how things are going. But this isn't my car. I get a lot of questions on it all the time. I helped build it. I built the exhaust. I helped build the motor mounts for the engine, transmission mounts. I was going to help put the rear end in. Fabrication work I've done on this car, but it is not my car. You guys know Mike. Mike's featured on the channel quite a lot. This is his car, basically. Started out with an actual rotary in it. Rotary blew up, literally blew up. So, excuse me, we sourced an 85 302 out of a Fox body with the T5, put that in and all that stuff. It's been a really good car. He just hasn't had the time or, you know, the extra capital to throw into the thing. So it's just been sitting. Next year, it should be pretty much squared up, because it's pretty much squared up now other than a couple studs and stuff like that. But we'll get to it eventually. For right now, it's going to collect the barn dust. I don't think it's going to be out this year. But I get a lot of questions about it, because I'll make shorts, or I'll be over here by the Two Flags or whatever, and they'll get a quick glimpse of an RX-7, and they're wondering, what on earth is that car doing there, and why do you never make videos on it? That's why. It's not really my thing. We'll make videos here and there, but there's no real build series on it or anything like that. I need a Coca-Cola. Hold on. That's a lot of talking. Hold on. Where did I even put that thing? Oh, there we go. Oh, okay, we got a new question here. Are you going to paint the International or leave it patina? When will I finish it? That's a very good question. So, basically, I was curious about this myself. We'll talk about the finish first. So, last time I actually worked on the car would have been April 15th, April 20th, somewhere around there. It's been quite a long time. Just, how things go, you end up getting snowballed with a whole bunch of stuff. The Trans Am video series was supposed to be a lot smaller. We weren't supposed to go through the entire car. That's at 100%, I would say, scheduling mistake on my part, but it was for a good cause and everything. There's other things we're going to do with the car down the road that you guys are going to see quite soon. But we needed that car around this summer no matter what. Anyway, kind of fizzled out half of it. We can still do the other half, but you guys will see on that. Anyway, kind of cryptic, but cryptic's fun sometimes. Either way, the Trans Am build series took way too long. We started that very early April, brought out ourselves basically just, a couple weeks ago, ate up the entire summer. When you're building a car from scratch, not from scratch, I should say, but going through the entire thing, it takes a lot of time. The biggest time waster was really the 403 Oldsmobile, and the 403 Oldsmobile, it's sitting over there. We can look at it in a second, and I'll tell you my assumptions on what's going on, but we'll leave that for, as we go down the line. So, circling back to the International, there's only so much time in a day. Me working full-time and all that stuff, trying to make videos for you guys. If you notice the Trans Am videos, they were a lot longer than the International videos. And they were a lot more, there was more meat to the videos. There wasn't a lot of time-lapse or anything like that. It was just, good content. Wasn't really filler. The International series has like 57 episodes. A lot of you guys love time-lapse and stuff, but when we're putting out 3 videos a week on the International and about 1 video a week on the Trans Am, you can see the big difference in time. The barn time didn't really go down any. In fact, it likely went up, but the upload time went down. I think it was for the better either way. But the International will get done. Basically, we're gearing up to hopefully start that again this winter and have it driving. Maybe not glass, because we got to source glass. Fun fact, side note, glass, the closest curved front windshield I can get is British Columbia, and it's about $1,500 just to get it here. And that's not talking about installing it. Likely looking at another $500 just to install the front windshield. The rest of the windows I can get cut. It's just the front windshield is curved. Who would have thought? And that's not to say if I can find like a KB1 or a KB2 International, the year is right before it, this one, the L series, I will literally cut this windshield frame out and graft the single pane, I would graft the flat pane windshield into the International. You would hardly notice. It wouldn't be factory, but at this point, there's hardly anything factory about that truck. Now, to answer your rest of the question, or to summarize that one, basically, this truck hopefully will be done, quotation marks, putting around, we can have fun with it, that kind of stuff, about April next year. If nothing comes up, we shouldn't have any other projects after Project Bus or Project Mega Cab, whatever you want to call it, really. As for paint, little torn on a couple things. I might leave it unpainted completely for the time being when it first comes out, just because there's so many mods and so many things I might want to tweak. If I do a half-decent rat rod paint job for the idea that I have in my head, we might end up having to blow through it with weld anyway and cut things and move things around. So bear in mind, I have an idea. I kind of want to do like a blue and then rat it out, scuff it all up, let it rust naturally through the blue. That's kind of the idea I got going. But for right now, it might just be the rust color that it is. If that answers your question, I hope it does. Oh, what do we got going on? Yeah. But either way, the International hasn't gone anywhere. I guess if no one has any questions on the RX-7, we'll flip this guy around to the International. He's just, poking exactly where we left him. There he is. Yeah, I'll bring you guys back just a touch. There. Look at that. So, International cab is pretty much in the exact same spot you guys seen it last. Sitting on the frame, just kind of hanging out. The box is pretty much done, other than a little bit of welding underneath that I have to do. Might be a video or two worth of stuff. It's not like a crazy amount. The frame, on the other hand, come check this out. I'll show you guys. Oh, yeah. Let me flip this sucker around. Boop. So, don't mind the blue frame. This was me just playing with, I wonder if blue would look good on this frame when I was painting the 403 olds. It does not. I think if we're going to do like a blue instead of a black frame, it's going to have to be a lot darker than that. That's all just, just kind of sitting there. Don't worry too much about that at all. But this is what I wanted to show you. Count the cross members, okay? Got 1, 2. I'm counting that ladder one. So there's not a whole lot going on. In fact, we'll just walk right through her. And it's not that we're not going to put anything in it. It's just all the cross members are currently out of it, basically. We still got to make a temporary, because that's just a temporary trans member. That's the actual torsion bar main member with our drive shaft. Jeez, I can't remember what it's calling. What to call that thing again? Drive shaft hoop. Sorry, drive shaft pass through. That makes 2 cross members. We're likely going to add another one right here that goes across, and maybe another one again, because you got to remember we're adding a lot of weight with this 6.9 IDI. Just because this 6.9, I think it's 900 pounds wet with transmission. That puts us, 1,100 pounds. Excuse me. It's quite a lot, really, at the end of the day. For a F-150 chassis that used to have a mod motor in it, this chassis, if anyone wants to know, because we haven't done a video on the International in a while, there's a lot of new fellas. This is a 2003 F-150 chassis. It is a 4-wheel drive. It was a a crew cab short box. Well, now it's a International chassis, International 6.9 IDI engine, and a T19 4-speed 2-wheel drive that was going to go into it. We have a transfer case for it and everything. I'll flip you guys around for a second. Whoop. Basically, the IDI inside, unless I raise the IDI like another 3 inches or whatever, I can't put the front diff. It really sucks because the way that the drive shaft comes out for the front diff, I don't know if I can show you guys. Let me see if I can get my phone down there. Can you even see that? I don't even know. But right here area, that's where the oil filter is on the IDI. And if my fist is the drive shaft, and this guy is the oil filter, smack dab, center. And normally you could put a relocation kit or something along those lines, but you need to have room to screw it on. Even the relocation kit is about this big. Don't even have room for that. Plus, if the drive shaft ever let go from doing 4-wheel drive burnouts, because we plan on abusing the absolute daylights out of this truck. This is an IDI race truck. Race truck in parentheses until we figure out how to get this sucker fast. But this is a race truck. That's why it was 4-wheel drive. It has a lot of aero on it. We're going to build more aero for it. It's just a fun build. Just something to tinker with, have fun with. Still haul a hay bale if you want. That kind of idea. But this fella right here, it was going to be a whole bunch of things, but we're kind of running into some manufacturer issues, manufacturer being me, Can't wrap my head around how to get that drive shaft through to keep the four-wheel drive system. So for right now, it's just going to be two-wheel drive. We'll figure it out down the road. Maybe we'll have to do like one of those weird transfer cases that those 70s Fords had. They had the double diffs. You guys remember those? Pretty crazy. Or figure out a way to get that diff onto the other side and then run a different transfer case like off a Chevy or something like that where the diff's on the other side. Then we wouldn't have the oil filter issue. We can play around because a T19 isn't a Ford transmission. Geez, I can't remember who makes that. It's not Dana Spicer or Bog Warner, I'm pretty sure. Bog Warner has nothing to do with Ford. It's just the adapter plate, the aluminum adapter plate on that fella that's joined to the 6.9 IDI that makes it, or the 6.9 IDI in the Ford chassis that makes it Ford. But we can adapt that Bog Warner to pretty much anything. So putting a Chevy transfer case on the Bog Warner, if we could get a Chevy front diff to put on the front, it might fix our issue altogether. CV shaft can get welded. That's not a big problem. Drake or The Weeknd? Yeah, you should say like, what's that? What the new fella is? The new country singer that everyone's all riled up about, Oliver Anthony, or like, oh geez, when it comes to thinking about artists, it just kind of escapes a fella real quick. You just kind of listen to the music and tune everything out, but you got all the old country singers and stuff. Give me one of those. I can't tell you a Drake or a Weeknd song. It is what it is. How's the four-door going? It's down, the stretch of jalopies. We can quickly go there. Just hold on. And the barn is an absolute mess. Usually we clean this guy up about twice a year. By clean, I mean like any scrap steel, that kind of stuff. But again, the Trans Am series was not supposed to be as long as it was. And we're kind of running short on time on Project Bus. So you're going to have to bear with me tripping over stuff for a little bit. Anyway, excuse the lighting. Barn's kind of weird. You need to have only one row of lights if you want to have internet in the barn. Kind of weird. But either way, it's actually coming together pretty darn good. Hopefully the phone adjusts to the brightness. Let me back up a bit. So that's the general gist of, Project Bus, Mega Cab. I'm calling it a Mega Cab because it's about 6 inches bigger than a crew cab. There was a fellow that said it was a double cab, but a double cab is technically, I believe, don't get me completely confused on this, I believe a double cab is smaller than a crew cab, and it has like those weird little half doors on the back that are still, full doors. They still open like a full door. They're not an extended cab. It's weird. Either way. So this is bigger than a crew cab by about 6 inch, so I'm calling it a Mega Cab. I know that the Dodge Mega Cabs, they had that extra bit at the back, but this is already 8 feet long from this section of door to the back, right there, to the back cab corner, if you want to call that still a cab corner. So 8 feet is quite a lot when I believe the normal truck is only 21 feet long. It's hard to say. But either way, it's coming along. You guys saw the last video, I believe, when we kind of just scooted these guys together and they were just kind of sitting. Well, on the new video, I can give it away a little bit to anyone that's in the live. I shimmed them up with barn stuff. We got a couple flex plates that's kind of under there. Got some steel over here. Hardly see it now. But either way, we got this guy pretty darn level, pretty darn square. I think I was a 16th out on the corner, but that's easy enough for the body mounts to eat up. But we got pretty much a floor in her now, other than the last 4 inches or so to the rocker panel. That's no longer there. But when we do the rocker, I plan on doing a full 8-foot rocker, joining both cabs together on the bottom. Ooh, excuse me, Coca-Cola. But either way, I plan on joining the entire thing with one rocker on both sides. Then we'll complete the floor on the bottom. But we got bracing all underneath. Let's see if I can open one of these doors here. There we go. We got bracing all underneath. That's all spot welded, going all the way to the back. Basically, the brace starts there. There. We got another one. We got an X brace underneath on that side, and we got to put an over top brace here just because I'm a little worried with the transfer case for clearance underneath. So I can't really put the brace underneath because the brace is inch flat, 3 inches down, inch flat, altogether 5 inch. So I don't think we would clear a transfer case. So it's going to go on the top, but it's going to be under the seat anyway. And if you know these Ford cabs, they're always really flimsy here at the back, right under the seat. There's never really any weight there, so it's not a huge problem. But for me, you know, if we're going this big, everything's going to kind of twist and move around where it shouldn't be. So we can make it stiff in the sections we want it to be, aka the floor and like the B-post and the roof. We shouldn't have any weird torque, flex, anything throughout this cab. I don't want the cab to rip itself apart, basically, at the end of the day. So we're going to make it really strong. So we'll put a brace there and put a brace there, and it will all be under the seat. You won't be able to see a thing. But as for the cab, almost got the floor done. Almost. We're pretty darn close to it. Next thing after that is either the roof line or the rocker, but depending on how the Hurricane goes, the brown parts truck parked out there is where I got to get my roof. I was thinking about doing a van roof, but I'm really just trying to use up what I have. So, where it's going to be like a 3-piece roof, whatever, is what it is. So, I don't think I'm going to cut him in the Hurricane, so that gives us rockers to do basically tomorrow. And then that should, basically how I'm thinking about video structure for this guy, everything down below, rockers, floor, maybe a couple patches here and there in the firewall and stuff. That's going to be one video. And then I'm thinking the roof and the B-pillars will be another video. And then I got to deal with this back end here a little bit. If you guys watched the second Mega Cab video, you would notice that this wasn't here. And I had a full sliding window in this. I even commented, hey, guess what? We gained a sliding window. Isn't that awesome? Anyway, I leaned the cab back and I slipped. Whole thing came crashing down and I saw diamonds everywhere. We lost this portion right here. Shouldn't be able to do that. It's all right. We got another rear sliding window in the brown cab, so it's not a huge issue going forward on that fella. Kind of sucks, is what it is, but we might even use the back of the brown cab here because this red cab wasn't too bad overall, but it is a little soft on the back, like cab corners and where it joins the floor. The floor is really good, but the back, isn't the best. And I kind of forgot to put the footage of me getting this cab. I have it. Don't get me wrong. Don't quote me on that either. I might have deleted it. But originally, we had this down at my buddy's place, and we picked it up with his pettibone. It's like a big log grapple. We literally just went on it because I only wanted the floor at the time. And then we put it on his flat deck truck, drove it here, and just kept tilting it until it literally rolled off. So the whole hood the whole roof got all beat up and all that stuff. We didn't plan on using the cab for anything else other than the floor. But obviously you can see that things spiraled out of control pretty quick. Let me go get my chair, and I'll actually talk about that while we're here. That way I'm not just walking around like a mongoloid or a smuck, basically. Get the tripod too. I can put you guys up in the tripod. You ever watch Corey Wheat Customs? Never heard of them. I've heard of Casey's Customs. I've watched Casey since he was about at 20,000 subs. He's a lot higher now, but to be honest, I used to watch a lot of Vice Grip Garage, a lot of DeBoss Garage, all the major automotive YouTube fellas. And it's great, but as I just said, I just finished about 16 hours on Project Mega Cab, and before that's Trans Am, before that's International. I'm just grinding hard out in the barn. By the time I'm done editing, shower, and all that stuff, usually there's not a whole lot of time left to sit down and watch an hour-long episode from those fellas. It sucks. Like, I don't know how many revivals I'm back now on Vice Grip Garage. I used to watch him every weekend. I must be 10 episodes back now, and you're talking likely 20 hours of footage that I'm missing out on. It's quite a lot, really, at the end of the day. But as for your question, Wheat Customs, never heard of them. I'll look them up after the live. Pretty cool. But let me bring my chair over here. That way I got somewhere to sit as I drink my Coca-Cola. There we go. Ugh. All right, let's see if I can get you guys all set up there for a second. Kind of explain why, Project Mega Cab is even a thing. Because it kind of came out of the blue to you guys, didn't it? One day, working on the Trans Am. Next day, there's a Mega Cab video. What's going on with that? But basically, we were going to do a single cab build, a single cab long box dually build, basically, on Grampy's truck. But then I got thinking, I have all these scrap cabs and scrap trucks and all that stuff, just part stuff, some parts for the International or from Brown Truck. That's where the 6.9 and IDI and the T19 4-speed came from. The frame out there with the dump bed that's really rotten, that one was for Grampy's truck. But when you think about it, I had everything around here to do this weird club cab, mega cab build that I've always said would be kind of cool to do. Or wacky enough to do, basically. So I said, screw it, might as well. We're already going to be replacing the floor in the single cab. Grafting it out of 2 trucks anyway. So why not just graft the parts cab to Grampy's truck and build a little bit more floor and then, patch the roof up, and then you got a cool crew cab that's longer. Theoretically, it's going to be the biggest truck driving around, sort of a mega cab 8-foot bed, but even then, we might be on par. It's hard to say, really. But I had all the parts, so I just kind of wanted to do it at the end of the day, and I think we're making really good progress on it. Plus, all my other vehicles are, there's not a lot of passenger room in them. They got the Trans Am. That actually, ironically, has the most passenger room out of everything. 4 passengers, basically. Got the International. Once it's done, it's going to be basically you and a passenger, and that's about it. And again, it's going to be more so, I wouldn't call it performance, because a 6.9 can only be so much performance. We're not talking about IDI performance or diesel power or whatever it was that had the 1,000 horsepower 6.9 IDI. That was a 7.3 IDI that was sleeved down to 6.9 spec. Whole bunch of stuff. Super, super low compression. Ran like 80 pounds of boost. Nuts engine. If you're ever looking at going down a rabbit hole on old diesel performance, look up that 1,000 horsepower IDI. I had it in one of my videos at the tail end. Pretty slick, really. We're never going to get that big and that extreme on, our IDI unless budgets, at the end of the day. But yeah, basically, Mega Cab, long story short, always wanted to do it, had all the parts to do it, was already tearing apart a single cab, might as well make a Mega Cab at the end. It's going to look a little bit different than the crew cabs because the crew cabs had a square door and this is going to be full set doors, but that's kind of gives it its charm at the end of the day. And it's not any harder to do a square door. It's just then I have to go get glass cut and stuff, and I'm already getting glass cut for the International. Just, I don't need all the complex stuff, and because of time crunches, I want to drive this thing this winter, as a daily, basically. That's going to be fun. So, we got to get the cab onto the chassis and figured out on the chassis pretty darn quick. So, the less time I can spend working on this thing and actually putting it on, putting the truck pieces together, the better. Oh, so you got some guys asking a couple questions. It's understandable. Rat rods, diesels, and old farm truck swaps. Okay, I'll have to look them up. Wheat Customs. Okay. I guess it's in the name, eh? I should have known he was a farmer. How awesome was the Atlantic Nationals this year? Really good, actually. Usually, you know, kind of like usually the Atlantic Nationals is, I look over or I look up to it every year. Look forward to it, I should say. This year was pretty good. There was a lot of cars there that normally aren't there. Like there was the GNX that I had at the very, very beginning of the video that I did. Normally you don't see a Grand National at all. So seeing one in good shape with OEM interior and all that stuff, nice treat, really. GNX is quite a nice Buick at the end of the day. And then as for like cars in general, there's a lot of rat rods there. There was some very questionable rat rods, as in like health and safety standards, or safety standards, I should say. Really cool, but there was one guy that drove his jalopy. I was talking to him off camera. About 600 kilometers. He was all the way up from Quebec, similar to the Studebaker guy. Either way, he had quite the trailer setup on it. It was it was a bumper pull trailer that he made an adapter bracket to make it into a fifth wheel for his rat rod. Kind of ratted out, sort of. But the adapter bracket wasn't welded or gusseted on or anything like that. It was like weird trailer balls attached, and it used them like... It's really hard to describe, but basically, as he was driving, the entire piece was just bending down the road. You could see the whole thing. It was like active suspension in the frame. Those Ford flexi frames, you know what I mean? Didn't that video rile up a lot of people? Not at all what I thought it was going to be. And also, you know, while we're on the topic of that, I should have it right here. Hold on. Give me a quick second, and you guys will know exactly what I'm going to be talking about here. It's somewhere in here. Ah, there's a piece of it anyway. No, that's not a piece of it. Oh, look at a pack rat going through my garbage. At least it's steel garbage. Didn't this rile up a lot of people? See, I should have been a little bit more specific on when I made the short video. I don't treat short videos the same as long format. I just kind of put them out, forget about them, that kind of stuff. This, basically, I'll show you guys. We'll flip, wonder if it's going to hold the, maybe if I flip the camera around. I don't know if I can break it again. I might be able to. There, we'll do that. No, I'll put my spectacles on because I nearly lost an eye on the last one. We'll see if I can break this thing again. But I don't really got the leverage. Must be a good camshaft. But hopefully you guys understand the joke. You know what I mean? Let me flip this guy around again. Oh, look how cool I am with these cool safety goggles on. Take these suckers off. But the video, right? Whistling Diesel, I watch him sometimes. You know, he's fun to just kind of sit down, see what kind of shenanigans he's going up to. At the end of the day, you have sentimental cars like, you know, Grampy's truck, my dad's Trans Am, Old Blue, that kind of stuff. But new stuff to me, it's just dime a dozen. If you have the money to beat on it and play with the cars, you know, in whatever way you see fit, he's doing a good job doing it. So it's fun to watch him beat on Ferraris and all that stuff. Neat. But either way, he did a video a while back. It was like a year ago. And it was with, what kind of car was it? Skyline. It was with a Skyline. I think, what engine is that? Oh, geez, my import mind is fried after such a long day at work, or working on the mega cab. I think the fumes from the welder got to me. RB23? I don't know. Geez, I can't remember what the Skyline engine is. Whatever. 4G? No. I was going to say 4G32, but that's that Dodge Gold. Either way, it's not important. But he took the camshaft out, and he did a whole video on beating up cams and all that stuff, and how a high-quality cam won't break when you throw it on the ground or beat it on the ground or whatever. That was literally just another joke video. Same exact concept. take the old cam from the 403, hit it on the ground. If it breaks, oh, it's not good. It's a cast cam. It's like if you dropped any cast thing on the ground, 50-50 chance it's going to crack and break. That's just how things are. Cast works. It's not how the camshaft was designed to be used as a baseball bat. This is how we were using it. It was a joke video. I didn't really put that in the video, so there was a lot of people that thought I was 100% serious, and they were getting mad that I was suggesting that's how you would, test your cam's quality and see how things are going like that. You would smack it on the ground, and if it survives, you got a good cam, put it in your engine. If you're smacking your cam on the ground and if it blows into 1,000 parts, or even if it doesn't, it's likely warped right out. You put a dial indicator on that sucker and you're going to have a bad day. Throw your $1,000 away. Might as well burn it. So, yeah, either way, that stirred up a lot of feathers. I think that video is almost at 1 million views now and, 10,000 comments, something like that. I stopped reading them a long time ago. But there was more than one fella that was mad that I was suggesting that's what was wrong with the cams or whatever if it broke. But to clear the air, it's just a joke video. Either way. Oh, I can't read that from sitting down. Let's see here. The 35 Chev with the blowers and nitrous from Yarmouth was sketchy as hell. It sure was. It sure was entirely. That's scrap steel. Did a video on it on my other channel, Gearhead Syndrome. He also did a video on the show-winning Oldsmobile Jetfire. I'll have to look those up. I didn't stay for the entire show. I didn't go Friday. I didn't go to the main street. I went Saturday for most of the day. That's where we did the cruise part and the after party and all that stuff. And then I went for another 2 hours roughly on Sunday to get a little bit more footage. And sometimes some guys only show up on Sunday. That's what it was. I didn't stay for any of the award ceremony or none of that for the Atlantic Nationals. But either way, circling back all the way, it was a good show. It really was. Usually I put something in every year. We actually put the F-150 in it this year, but I was dumb and I pressure washed the engine just real quick the night before getting it ready. Blew right through the timer and cover gasket. Just started spilling everywhere as soon as it would run. Not good. So basically had to put the timing cover gasket in. Didn't have the right equipment or the gaskets for another couple days, so we ended up just parking it and going as a spectator. That kind of brings me into a segue. If you guys haven't noticed, there's no F-150 content anymore because there's no F-150 anymore. And that's for a couple reasons. But main reason why, when, kind of take it on a serious note for a second, when my dad died, it was very unexpected. He was sick for a while, but that day, it was super unexpected when he kind of, started to go downhill. Anyway, so when he passed, and when we were with him and everything, it was a couple weeks, that kind of stuff. You're not going to work, for a couple weeks. You're not playing in the barn making videos and all that stuff. You need to, you got to have some capital hanging around. So I ended up selling the 87 pickup. We actually had a video half filmed on that sucker, and then we sold it. That sucks. And then I sold the F-150 to the same guy, actually. He came with a flatbed for both of them, and adios to Moncton with them. He was quite happy to have a big block short bed truck with track bars and a torsion diff. That's quite a pretty penny. New tires, sandblasted frame, all that stuff. It sold for a good amount of money, I can tell you that for free. The 87, we basically just kind of liquidated that to get out of the way, but it gave us quite a substantial chunk of change that I didn't have to worry about work or anything, just focus on family and family-oriented stuff. Wouldn't trade that decision for the world, but that's where the F-150 went. It's just not around. It's gone. Someone else is burning the tires and blowing the engine and whatever they want to do to it, I guess. But hopefully they're having fun with it at the end of the day. I think it's another time for another Coca-Cola. Hold on. Let's go get another one. I got them all down by the International. We'll get away from the Mega Cab for just a little second, unless someone wants to know more stuff about it. Fun fact, I guess, Mega Cab, that is an 80, well, whatever Grampy's truck was, 84, I believe. It's an 84 cab on the front, and it's a 90, can't remember if that had OB2 or not. Yes, it did. It's a 96 cab on the back. They're almost identical, really. Grampy's cab didn't have like a rear tail light, the rear mounted light on the back of the cab. Those didn't come around until like 94, and then 94 they were just like white light. It was only after 96 or 97 that they needed them to be a rear brake light. So that one actually has a rear brake light in it. But because the rear part of the cab's all smushed up, we might end up grafting the brown cab's rear part into that cab. It's like, you know, cab Tetris at the end of the day. Oh, jeez. So this is what I'm kind of talking about. When we rolled her off, that's supposed to be straight. It's not straight anymore. That guy took a huge wallop. I'm surprised it didn't blow out the actual window itself. It blew out the front window completely. And then the back, it wasn't as smushed in. But again, when we didn't care, we just kind of sat it on the trailer, or sorry, the flat deck with the pettibone. And then we were going to push it with the forks, but it actually just started crushing the cab. You can actually see where the fork was right here, actually. Can you see that? Oh, my shadow's in the way. Right here and right here. That's why it's all tore up there. But I learned real quick that it was soft there. So we can kind of address that at the same time. You know, not bad at the end of the day. Let me put you guys back up, and then I can read some more comments for you. I see there's more Mega Cab questions, so we'll hang out here for a little bit more. There. That kind of works, I think. Oi! Oh, almost. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. Oh, excuse me. All right, so Evan's asking, what engine is going in the Mega Cab? I was actually waiting for that question. He's also asking, what chassis? Is it going to be four-wheel drive or two-wheel drive? I was waiting for that question because, again, half the reason we're doing this live is anyone, you know, that wants to hang out, they deserve a little sneak peek on what's going on. Now, I'm going to answer your question in a roundabout way. If you guys have noticed, Old Blue hasn't been driving for a little bit. I built his cab, super cab, a long time ago. It'd be close to 7 or 8 years ago now. Pretty much right after I got my license, I might have been 17, maybe 18 at the time. Yeah, I would say likely 17 years old. But either way, it was only the transmission tunnel that was holding that sucker together. So me and my brother built the rest of the cab, rockers and all, on that super cab. But it was one of the very first welding jobs we've ever done. And I don't think there was a tape measure ever used or a level or anything. So when we put that truck together, and we built it with the doors off, by the way, no supports, no nothing in the cab. So Warp City, built the rockers, all that stuff. We go to put the doors on. The doors don't even fit. The floor was too high. The door was like, I don't know, a full 6 inches, you know, shorter or longer than it should have been. Not good. So basically, that door, or both doors, we ended up having to cut the entire bottom off of them. It's all unused on those doors anyway, these 80s and 90s doors. There's nothing down there for the first, like, 1.5 feet. But either way, we had to cut those in order for the doors to close. And they're not even square at the end of the day because the floor wasn't square. You know what I'm getting at, basically? And then we just kind of patched it along as we went, got it, you know, driving. But now, like, in New Brunswick, we got inspections and all that stuff down the road. It was inspected for the last 2 years. I think the inspection ran out at the end of October this year, and I would have to put some more work into the cab. Oh, geez, excuse me. Coke Zeros make you burp a lot. But anyway, the steel that we put in, still very strong, still very good. But the transmission tunnel, starting to see its age. Is the only, thing left OEM on that cab from when it was built by Ford. And the old timer that had it loved spray foam and loved rivets and, just roofing tin and stuff like that. So that's all what's holding that transmission tunnel together. So I basically would have to cut that whole thing out and make a transmission tunnel for the Super Cab. I think you guys likely know where I'm getting with this. Basically, the donor chassis for the crew cab, and I got step side fenders. Dually fenders are like hen's teeth around here, and you're talking like $600 for a set. No thanks. $100 per fender is fine by me. And a step side fender is so close to a dually fender, you just got to finagle a little bit of fiberglass work. But either way, that's a whole other side point. But we have all the parts. We have all these chassis to make a long bed dually truck. Old Blue is going to give up its frame, its engine, and its drivetrain, all its stuff, its box. And basically, we're going to shoehorn the mega cab in there where the super cab was. And we're either going to shorten the bed by 2 feet, or what I'm actually kind of leaning towards is one of the cabin chassis trucks. We're going to cut the rear frame off Old Blue, and put them both together. That way we have the Mega Cab 8-foot bed dually. And Old Blue is a 4-wheel drive 6.9 IDI with a T19 4-speed and an MP 208 transfer case. So it's a rugged unit. I've never had an issue with Old Blue that hasn't been my fault. And it's just a reliable truck. It can sit for a couple months at a time. The diesel won't even drain back and all that stuff. Like when I pulled that chassis out, it was sitting for like it was sitting for about a month. And then before that, it was sitting for about a month. It just starts right up. No question, no nothing like that. And I've had it for so long. It's the oldest vehicle I've owned now in my name for a long, long time. So I think if I basically build off that truck, because really all we're going to be changing is the cab and a little section of frame, basically get to drive Old Blue forever. A super cab's great, but a crew cab, you can grow into a crew cab quite a lot. And that's another reason why I'm not doing the single cab. Put all this work into a single cab pickup and down the road, have to get a different daily, I'm about that age, kids come and all that stuff in the next 5-6 years. So a crew cab is really a good thing to have. Otherwise, we would have to get into like a station wagon or, God help us all, a minivan. It would be a cool minivan, mind you, but still, I think the crew cab IDI sleigh is going to be quite slick. And we definitely have the legroom at the back. I see some other guys commented some more stuff, so I'll go see what's going on. So are you cutting Old Blue up? Evan says again. To answer your question, yes. Old Blue will be donating a couple parts. It will be donating its engine, transmission, basically its running frame gear, its frame, its drivetrain. That's all Old Blue. Minus the rear axle, because if we go with the cabin chassis frame rails are a little bit tighter, being the perches need to be cut off and re-welded, but it's easier just to put the differential from another truck, the axle assembly from another truck, whatever truck is I cut that piece off of, put it on Old Blue and change the gears if they're not 355s already, which they might be, especially since the brown truck was an IDI. Likely 355s in there anyway. So it will get that axle. I'll have a couple spare parts floating around at the end, just, some big key components that are good to have. We'll keep those around. The rest, either we're going to make a trailer out of them or they're going to go to the scrapyard. It's just how it is. But Old Blue's cab, it's not even going to be worth selling. Trust me. It is so unsquare and so out of whack. It's good for a chicken coop, and that's about it. It's good steel, other than the transmission tunnel, but it will be good parts. We might steal the roof for the mega cab, or we'll use the brown cab, whichever one works out. But that likely answers your question. Old Blue, as it sits, will no longer be a truck. This will be the new Old Blue, because this will eventually be blue. Like I'm thinking either a nice, and we're not talking Rust-Oleum paint at the end of the day. That was more so just for fun on the short bed truck when we painted the bed. This truck is actually going to be painted professionally by me, but, you know, an actual gun and all that stuff. Actual car paint. Maybe not even a single stage. It might be a dual stage color and clear instead of the clear mixed in on the single stage. Might actually be done right, paintwork wise, body work wise, all that stuff. Maybe not this year, but over the summer when the toys kind of come back out and maybe the International's done, or at least the Trans Am's back out, then I can flip back into those guys. And I can afford to sand and block and prime and all that stuff to the mega cab. So this guy is either going to be like a dark blue, light blue, two-tone, 80s styling, or it's going to be a white and blue two-tone, 80s styling. And we plan down the road to get the complete chrome package for this fella. That's another thing, too. Around here, chrome is like hen's teeth as well. And I'm not talking just about the wheel well chrome that goes around on these trucks. I'm talking about the dual chrome, the one that goes through the doors on the... I don't know if I got a good section to show you. I think I do. Come here, phone. Yeah, right here. Chrome goes all the way to the back, and then it will go in the bed around the dually fenders and back out. And then down here on the other arch, same thing. There's dual set chrome. I already have the 4 chrome visor. What are they called? Window things. Rain guards. I don't know. Drank too many of these. But I already have those. We're going to get the chrome handles for it. We're not going to chrome it out like a Peterbilt. Don't get me wrong on that. But we are going to do the chrome that came on these trucks. I would like that to have it. I think that's going to look out, or I think that's going to work pretty darn slick for these. Let me flip this so you can see me again. Okay, so we got a lot of comments in the last, as I was flapping my gums, so hold on now. Can't kill them IDIs, drive one every day, and I own 4 of them. That says Record Johnny. Well, now, technically I've only ever drove, I don't know why I'm pointing at him, he's just a scrap heap right now, the mega cab. But I've drove Old Blue. We technically did an engine swap on an 83 here in the barn. Early channel days. But we had a whole series on that. That's 2 IDIs. Both 6.9s. And then we have an IDI engine for the International. And then we have another IDI engine sitting outside. They're all 6.9s. Who would have thought? You know, they're all 6.9s. There's no brick nose 7.3s, nothing. They're all 6.9 IDIs. So that's good or bad, however you want to slice it. I did a video on the 6.9 IDI and the 7.3. It was kind of sprinkled in there. But they're 2 different cats, structure-wise. They're very similar. But if you're going to throw a turbo on one, for God's sakes, buy a 7.3. Because the wrist pins and the crank, and most importantly, the rods, they're going from like that diameter to like that diameter. Same as the main bearings and all that stuff. It's quite, quite a substantial difference, really. Those turbo 7.3s, those are the way to go. They basically have like power stroke rods in them. I'm pretty sure you can put a power stroke rod in it, and then it's a lot bigger. Either way, we're going to do like a whole performance build on the 6.9 IDI, likely a year after it's out, like the next rotation and at wintertime for the race truck, the International. But that's down the road pretty far. I wouldn't hold your breath on it. Real man's minivan for sure. Yes, sir. Like, I always thought building one of those... Oh, I'll tell you the other side point. If we weren't going to build the mega cab, crew cab, pickup, the other idea was to buy like a 70s or like 80s a Kona line van that's whatever. Use the single cab on the front and graft that, cut the van and graft that into the van. And then basically you have like a redneck excursion from the 80s. That was an idea. A cooler idea would have been like a Bronco, and you do like a crew cab, and then you put a Bronco end on the back, but I'm not about to cut up a perfectly good Bronco. And perfectly good to me can be completely rotted out. If you find one of those for cheap, usually they're not worth saving. But if you find one that's half decent, that's swappable and all that stuff, I don't really want to cut one up just to use a piece of it, because then the rest of it's scrap, really. That's the destiny of a lot of the trucks that you end up cutting up for these projects. What's left goes to scrap, but in my case, a lot of the trucks were scrap, so I'm not losing any sleep over it. It's all good, Ricky. I'm glad I see ya. Ricky, if anyone wants to know, Ricky and Evan, they basically see every single video I put out, and I've noticed. Trust me. Someday, whenever we do a meetup, I plan on saying hello. But, with everything that went on this summer with my dad, and there's a whole bunch of other things going behind the scenes that we are not going to get into. That's a whole other ball game. Personal stuff. Sometime down the road we will. But either way, there's not a lot of time left on, the whole entire summer. And you can do a meetup in the winter and stuff, but it's not as fun. You know what I mean? Drinking Tim Hortons coffee in a blizzard. Not exactly ideal. What do you mean, the base model GM? What do you mean, 7,500? You know what I have? Oh, yes. The Ford prices going on these days, I could likely get, for that scrap heap of a cab that's built by Ray Charles in the dark with his feet. That's basically who welded it. Because again, I had no experience. I didn't even think I knew how to read a tape measure back then. And even if I did, I definitely didn't use it. I can tell you that for free. So that cab, basically, at the end of the day, it's scrap. It's 100% scrap. Once I cut it up and I use the pieces that I want, the mega cab's gonna haul it to scrap, basically, at the end of the day. But that being said, if I didn't cut it up and I posted it online, I'm sure someone will buy it for $500. But then you're hoping that they don't know what's going on with it. Hopefully they wouldn't ever want to restore a truck with that cab, because then they would figure it out real quick and I would get a phone call, and I don't want that. I would rather just cut it up. Sometimes $500 isn't worth it, you know what I mean? If any of you guys are like from NB, you got like that guy Keith Brooks or whatever, sells a whole bunch of cars that, I guess are stolen and whatever. I haven't had any interaction with the fella, just stuff you read on Facebook. But either way, he sells cars with fake inspections and fake registrations, and sometimes it's not. He doesn't even own it, and it's just a gigantic. It's like a big meme going around this province. You don't buy anything from him, basically, at the end of the day. 85. Ricky says, my 85 F-250 was original. Oh, geez, I'm screwing it up. My 85 F-250 was originally dark blue and lighter blue. Ricky, I actually got a question for you. I'm wondering, is your truck the one that's for sale on Facebook? Sometimes, I go through Facebook and stuff. Around winter last year, I saw it. It was black, basically. I think that's the same one down in Cape Breton. And 351 Windsor, like you told me and all that stuff. But sometimes I go through Facebook and I still see it time to time. Just wondering if that's your truck. I'm not entirely sure. Cape Breton's small enough that it very well could be. Evan asks, you should do a two-tone brown with all the fancy stylings and lines and things. See, if you look up, I don't know what time you joined the YouTube channel, Evan. If you watched all the old videos when I had that really old camera, you should see that thing. It was a mess. But you could tell it's the old camera if it has or purple lines going through the screen and it gets really fuzzy from afar. That's the old camera, the like LCD or the Digitom. I don't know. I'm just making up words. But basically, like the lens, it was all screwed up. When I did the engine swap on the brown truck, the Lariat, the other 6.9 IDI, the 83, that series, that was filmed with that camera. So if you want to go see like a two-tone, that was a really nice two-tone. But what I'm talking about is like, let me flip this. Grab you by the phone. Come here. Get off there. Kind of stuck on the tripod. When I'm talking two-tone, there's a couple two-tones you can do. There's a whole bunch of different patterns. If you're ever like, if you're ever curious or you got some time to kill, you can look up 80s two-tone Ford styling, and there's like 5 or 6 different makes of or different patterns of two-tone that you can go with. The old 86 F-150 with the 4-inch lift, we kind of did a video on it here and there at early channel days again. It had the basic two-tone styling, one color, one color, one color. So 2 colors all together, but basically cut the truck into 3 tiers. Top tier was the same tier as, or the same color as the bottom tier, and then you had the middle color. What we're thinking on, flip this guy around. What we're thinking on is the same idea, except on this guy, you'll have this part right here. Like that. It divides the very top one with the secondary color again. So I'm thinking like, how would that work? I'm thinking dark blue, white, dark blue, and then dark blue again. Comes up, and then that's white. Or it might be white here. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up again. But that color will go all the way through because there will be another drip rail right here from the donor cab and the roof line. So it'll basically go from front to back, really. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But again, I'm really partial, I'm pretty sure, because I still want to call the truck Old Blue at the end of the day. So I'm pretty sure it's going to have to be blue. And because it's going to be my grandfather's cab at the front, to drive his truck, it was a blue cab with red interior. The back cab already has red interior. So I think if I paint the entire thing blue, the two-tone blue, whatever, with the red interior, it's in-esque still Grampy's cab. And in New Brunswick, again, that's the province I live in, you basically, the cab goes off of, or your registration goes off of the cab VIN. So in this case, the VIN this will be registered as, it'll be custom anyway. We have like this weird custom law around here now. It's like new. 2 years old or whatever. If you modify it, it has to get like a custom regi. It's a gigantic headache. But either way, it's still going to be registered as the single cab's VIN. That's just how New Brunswick works. Nova Scotia and the other provinces, likely the same. But I know some places in the States, it's just, you put her out and adios. That's just how it goes. It's got a lot more freedom down there than we do when it comes to automotive stuff. Put this guy back here. Record Johnny says mine are all 7.3 IDIs and his 94 is a turbo. Don't get me wrong, or sorry, wrong choice of words. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the 94 turbo, it has bigger rods, bigger injectors, obviously. It has a DB4 Stanodyne injection pump instead of a DB2, outputting like another 40% fuel. It's quite a good pump. And then like all the other 7.3 IDI stuff in it. But I believe it's also an internally balanced engine that separates it from the 7.3 IDIs before and the 6.9s. I believe it's internally balanced on the crank. So when you put like a flywheel or a flex plate, it can't have any weights on it. It's weird. I didn't know that until I was talking to another fella that was trying to build a 7.3 IDI turbo right now. And That's one of the things he doesn't have the flywheel, and he has to get like a 7.3 IDI-T turbo flywheel to fit because there's no balancing on the turbo flywheel. You can't just use a 6.9 one because you'll be rattling to death, basically. Weird, eh? One of the things you don't think about. Lots of time for a meetup. Take care of your personal stuff first, says Ricky. Can't agree with you more. We're pretty much wrapped up on like all the other stuff. Again, I wouldn't have come back to YouTube if we needed a little bit of extra time. And there's good days and bad days. Like everything else. Like we're over a month now since the day. So it's like everything else, right? Some of you guys know what I mean. Others you don't yet, but you will. It's unfortunate. But we'll leave it at that. We'll try to keep the tone of the video of the live up there without, doing all that other stuff. Gearhead Syndrome says, just heard about a fellow maritime automotive YouTuber. Excited to follow along with your builds. I'm based in Moncton. Need to know. I'm just outside of Moncton. I can't say exactly where I am. Some of you guys already know. But if you want, send me an email on the channel. If you go to the About all the way on the channel, you can see where the business email is. Click that and we can talk further about that stuff. Maybe we can do a video or something like that. I don't mind doing videos. But I'll look up your channel and I'll take a look. But if you want to talk more, that's the best way to reach me. YouTube, I've done YouTube for a long time. I had a lot of other channels before this. Never really went full bore on the one like what I'm doing now. But there used to be a function that you could private message right on YouTube to other creators. That was phenomenal. They got rid of that. Don't ask me why. I was too young to know at the time. But either way, I wish they still had a function like that. But for right now, email's the best way. It's just how it is. But we can set something up that way. 100%. A couple of those guys here in Cape Breton. Holy shit, haven't heard about Keith Brooks in a few years. The memories. yeah, Keith Brooks, it might be a little graphic for this live stream, but there's a video going around to NB Auto enthusiasts right now. And basically it's him getting beat up by a baseball bat or whatever. He sold a car to the wrong fellas. And as I said, usually the cars are stolen. Not in his name, not in anyone's name, doesn't own them, or they're complete heaps, basically. And after the 50th or 60th car, someone's going to get in a tussle. Anyway, there's a video floating around. If you guys want to see it, join NB Auto Enthusiasts. Just type Keith Brooks in. You'll find the video. Join the channel. Evan says I joined the channel like November 2022. Well, you're almost at the anniversary now. For me, I usually say the anniversary for the channel is like December-ish, because that's when we did the long bed to short bed conversion. It was like the first like main video on the channel. YouTube actually says it's August, just passed. And if you look, one of the very, very first videos that are feature length is the overview of my F-150. I'm just out in the yard basically going over it. When it was first done, it's like the slideshow of the F-150, I'm pretty sure. And there's like a video end, whatever. But that was in August, so I actually got a notification from YouTube, and they're like, 2-year anniversary, woohoo! For me, it's in December, but YouTube thinks it's in August. Oh, geez, a lot of Coca-Cola. YouTube thinks it's in August. Even though we only uploaded once and then we didn't upload all again until December. But we've been pretty darn regular since December of 2021. So we're doing pretty good. Ricky says, I definitely don't have my truck for sale, but there are 2 or 3 black ones around mine. The one that I'm thinking of, Ricky, it had a plow on it. It was black, 351 Windsor, and it doesn't have a bed. It's just no bed at all. And I guess that one was for sale. Not sure. I haven't seen it for about a month, but next time I see it, I'll make a short on it just for you, and you'll see the one I'm talking about. But Cape Breton's a small enough little portion. Like, again, and we basically drove the entire thing in 3 days before we got the bad news. So, it's it was a fun time though, really. But there can't be too many of those old trucks there. Let me see here. My friend has a 93 Ford E350 with a 7.3 IDI non-turbo. He loves it, says Wrecker Johnny. Of course he does. I don't blame him at all. If you're like a general contractor, and you're just trying to move tools around and all that stuff, finding an old Econoline with an IDI is likely a really solid investment. Basically, the thing's bulletproof. It likely has the twin I-beam IFS in the front, 4 9-inch or 8.8 in the back, or if you get the 250 model, it has a Sterling 8 or 10 and a quarter. You can't go wrong. It's a bulletproof system, really, at the end of the day. So, no, he's likely having a good old time there. His van is a Quigley van, is 4-wheel drive, and he drives it to Florida to Moab. Now self-contained as a camper van. Yes, sir. If you look on the front, I think that's the van I was talking about before on the very beginning of the live stream on what we could do with the International. The van that had the 2 front differentials, 2 front drive shafts, and 2 transfer cases. It might be 1 transfer case with dual outputs. Don't quote me on that. I haven't looked at one in a long time, but they're weird. It has 2 front diffs, and they both hinge. It's like an early version of the twin traction beam. It's quite cool. You should do the whole top of Evan says you should do the top of the vehicle cab from the bottom of the windows up. Should be white. That would look epic. I think so. Just like that. So you're thinking like the triple, the one color, one color, one color. We'll see. I'll do like another whiteboard special when it comes time to paint the sucker. But I think we're both on the same page when it comes to that stuff. Ricky says, my truck was dark blue on the top, light blue in the middle. No. So it's not your truck. It's not your truck at all. This is the true hot rodder shit. Only thing missing is using lead instead of Bondo for the filler. Yes, sir. I want to get into lead just a little bit. I know it's super fucking poisonous. Forgive the language. But I want to it would be cool to do leading on the International just for like nostalgia purposes. If I can structure that old truck to look like an old race truck, no LED lighting, all halogen, all analog, even like an AM, FM radio, and that's it. Maybe just an AM radio, and then like have one of those, secret radio things. I don't know. But no plastic, I think that would be pretty darn slick at the end of the day. Make her look old. Shoot me an email for sure. Planning first off-road shoot of the fall with the white UK imported Suzuki Samurai. You might have seen it around. I might have. I'll look it up on your YouTube channel after the live, and I'll see. I've likely seen it. Moncton's there's like 150, 200,000 people, I think, that live there now, but still, it's a pretty small place, so I've likely seen it driving around. Just acquired a project truck, 1974 Dodge D100 Power Wagon with a 360 Dodge in it, rust-free. Does need some work. It's rough around the edges, but it's pretty much my first truck, says Evan. Well, you picked a good power plant. You picked a good unit. Those old Dodges, I've actually almost had one myself early on. The very first ride was a Ford Explorer, 94. And then after that, we got in the trucks. Old Blue was pretty much around that time too. But before the Ford Explorer, it was basically old Dodges that I was looking at. Those old flat Dodges that kind of look like fridges. My dad said we could look at it. Hopefully, it's my truck sometime soon. Hopefully. Yeah, I don't think you're going to regret it if you get one of them old Dodges. It's 4x4 with Warren locking hubs. It's good. Warren hubs are always good. Spicer hubs are good. Who is the other one? I can't remember, but it's always a good upgrade. Mile marker. Mile marker hubs are usually pretty darn robust. If you want to go super robust and you plan on beating on the truck and you don't go off, and if you only go off the road, just put some slugs in it. 4-wheel drive all the time. You're never going to have a hub blown out. It will blow up the diff or the U-joints before then. Love the live so far, brother. Got to put my kids to bed. We'll watch the rest later. Cheers. Thanks for stopping by, Gearhead. Highly appreciate it. As I said, shoot me an email, and we can likely get something going. I wouldn't be surprised. But thanks for joining in. Now, hopefully, how many more batteries do I got? I kind of came out here with only 30% myself. I got 9% battery. Get out of here, Skeeter. I got 9% battery. So if you guys got any quick questions on the square body Chevrolet, the IDI, old blue, Trans Am, anything, shoot them quick, because we'll be out here until the phone dies. And once the phone dies, the live's just gonna go boop, and that's gonna be it. It's just how it is. That's Coca-Cola number 3. I think I'm done. Well, let me flip this guy over here. We'll go all the way to the square body Chevrolet. You have any advice for me on the Dodge? Buy Ford. No, I'm just playing. The Dodge, I'll have to scroll up. Was it a 318 that you said it was? 360. Still a really good engine. 360 is going to have, I think the 360 was the answer when the 440 left. Basically, Mopar's lineup. I think the 360 was the biggest they would go after that. Same family as like the 318 and all that stuff. But you can't hurt, like a 360 Dodge, it's a good power plant. You'll have You'll have all kinds of torque, all kinds of power for the old truck. Fuel mileage is going to suck just a little bit. It's just how it is. Anything past like a 302, 300 cubic inch, it's eating fuel. It's just, unless it's a diesel, but 360 is definitely no diesel. I can tell you that for free. But you'll be able to grow into that motor quite a lot. If you can afford to drive the thing, you'll be able to pull whatever you want. You'll have a good time. It's like the 460, basically. If you can afford to drive it, you got power for days. The average fella that's not pulling a fifth wheel trailer, 20,000 pounds, that kind of stuff, you don't need 600 horsepower. You need torque. Torque is what you want. An old IDI has like 120 horsepower. It's like nothing, right? The old 6.9. But it has pretty damn near like 400 foot-pounds of torque. A little bit of upgrades, you can get that fella up to 550. You're pulling whatever you want at the end of the day. May not be as quick as like a 6.7 Power Stroke or like a Cummins, newer Cummins and stuff like that. But if you're not doing it professionally and you're not making money at it, run the old stuff. It'll last you 1,000,000 kilometers, be a lot less headache. I can tell you that. Like, how much gas will it burn per gallon? A lot. It's going to burn a lot. Be prepared. I don't know how much fuel is down there as it is here, but right now, here, in liters, it's pretty damn near 20 or $2 a liter. I think that comes out to be like $6.50, $7 a gallon. It's quite a lot, really, when it comes to the United States conversion. But when the fella bought the 460 F-150, I had to tell him like 8 times. For sure, know what you're getting into, because you could daily drive it if you have infinite deep wallets. If you don't, keep it as a weekend toy. Because the 460 got I think it was 7 or 6 miles a gallon. I'm not sure what the 360 does. You'll have to look it up on the gear that you're getting online with the transmission and the gear ratio. That will give you a pretty good idea on what MPG you're going to get. If you go with a bigger tire too, you can cheat a little bit. But either way, you're only going to gain a little bit of. Don't expect to be getting mileage like a Honda Civic. Let's just say that. We'll leave it at that. 176,000 kilometers. That's what Evan says about his old Dirge. It's going to last quite a long time. Again, the 360, you should be able to get like 300,000 clicks out of that thing. So at 100, what'd you say it was? 176,000 kilometers? Oh, yeah. You can likely double that before you have any real issues. I would check the timing chain real quick just to see if you got a lot of slop. And obviously, if the engine looks clapped when you get it, might need to give it some R&R. It all depends on who owned it, right? Love the bullnose content. Keep it up, says Colton. I like your name. It's half of mine, or it's mine plus, so it's all good. But either way, I appreciate it. The bullnose stuff is pretty much the bread and butter of the channel, and then 6.9 IDI and 7.3 IDI stuff. Just kind of what we have going around. We got a square body Chevrolet in the back, but he's pretty much just wall art. He's in really good shape too, body-wise. And we just never really dived into it. But eventually we'll get to it. It's just, how she goes. But the old Ford bullnose 1980, 86, that's the bread and butter years. They're still a relatively cheap truck to get into. Not the crew cabs, mind you. Those are expensive. Super cabs are getting up there. But single cabs, you can get a really nice single cab 302, like if you go base model and you're not trying to get a diesel, you're not trying to get a manual, just 302 auto or i6 auto, two-wheel drive, you can get them like a really nice one for like $3,000. That is a lot of money if you're like in Texas and stuff. But around here, normally, like you can't get into a pickup for less than $3,000. So, you're having a good time, really. It's a good truck to get into. And the power plants for those years, they're all robust. Every single last one of them. 302, really, really tough. It's in that year, it's going to be a flat tappet cam. I don't think the hydraulic rollers came out until 87 for the bricks. But either way, it'll be like a flat tappet. 300 i6, it will run on 4 cylinders forever. It doesn't care. 6.9 IDI, doesn't care. It will run on literally any liquid you put in. You might burn a few injection pumps up with modern diesel. But other than that, you're singing pretty. I've never once had to change an injector on any of my diesels, just the injection pumps. But they're good power plants. And again, 460, it's really good, really strong motor. It will outpull a 6.9 and a 7.3 IDI all the day long. Maybe not a turbo one, but all day long. 460, more power, more torque, all that stuff. Noticeable difference. But the 6.9 IDI, even with my combo, 6.9 IDI, 4-speed, 355 gears, it gets like 16, 17 miles a gallon. And I've checked it myself because I didn't believe it on road trips and all that stuff. Highway, about 16 miles a gallon. And that's pretty darn good for a 4-speed. If I put a ZF5 in it, or even adapted a ZF6, it would likely get up around 20 miles a gallon because you gain that overdrive. Someday. Someday we'll do something like that. Get like an old gear vendor or something like that. Evan says it's in my backyard so I can look at it anytime I like. Oh, the old Dodge. Okay, good. And well, no time like the present. You might as well go fiddling with it. Have some fun. Weekend's just around the corner. Wake up tomorrow and it's going to be the weekend, so maybe you get to play around with the old Dodge. Paid $3,500 for his truck, says Ricky. The cab and frame are great. Needed 2 cross members and about 20 inches of the front of the box fixed. It's got 119,000 kilometers. It's still a baby at 119,000 kilometers, Ricky. But it's a labor of love on everything. For $3,000, like, I don't got to tell you this, but for $3,000, you're still going to get a truck that you have to work on a little bit, but it gives you a really, really solid base. Like, for example, when I bought Old Blue I paid $350 for when I bought it, but it was going to the scrap heap. We got her all set up and limped her along. And it's lasted a long time for 7 years, pretty much untouched. Small things here and there, general wear and tear, but the main truck still had tons of life left in it. Maybe not the body, but the drivetrain is still just singing pretty happy. I think we put a clutch in it, couple U-joints. We got to put another couple U-joints into it. We're 2 injection pumps into it, and that's it. An exhaust. When it comes to the drivetrain, it's robust. It's just how it is. Oh, jeez. Evan says she's got rust in the jets of the carb. Actually, I think I got one of those suckers right here. Where is it? Ah, there he is. So, this is a Quadrojet, Quadro junk, 2-barrel, or is it still called a Quadrojet if it's 2-barrel? That's a good thing. No, sorry, it's called a dual jet. Same manufacturers, Rochester. Junk. That's what was on the 260 Oldsmobile when I got it. Same idea, basically. In the idle circuit, it wouldn't run. But with the power valve, or sorry, power valve is the wrong word. With the accelerator pump, like squirted a whole bunch of fuel into it, it would run for about 3 seconds and then instantly die. If you bottle fed it, it would run perfectly fine. I took apart the carb. The smallest little infraction, the smallest little bit of dirt in those carburetors for the idle circuit just completely cooks the thing. It will never run. So it was less work for me to make an entire adapter plate to run the 650 Edelbrock, the 1406. It was less time to make an entire adapter plate for the 2-barrel to go to a 4-barrel carb than it was to fix that junk 2-barrel Rochester. So when it comes to old carbs sitting, if it's like a Holly or an Edelbrock, prime them up. You might have to fix a gasket or two, but then you'll be 100%. I've never had good luck with the Quadrojunks or that dual carb. That's the second dual carb I went through now. But like a 2-barrel Holly, single barrel Holly, they'll fire right up, really. So it all depends what's on the truck. And that's going to dictate how bad of a time you're going to have. I can guarantee that for sure. Easy fix, though, and the rust is in the tank. Just need an afternoon to fix it. That's always how it is, really. The rust in the tank is a big kicker. The best way to clean that, I found, for the time and the money, especially since you're in the States, buy a tank. Just be done with it. Because if there's a lot of rust in there, it's always going to come back. Even if you throw marbles and like nuts and bolts and stuff in there and CLR and a whole bunch of stuff and splish it around, you'll get all the rust out. You'll put it in the truck. 2 years down the road, it's going to start to flake again from the inside because you tore that coating off. You would have to recoat the inside, but when you're talking time and parts and the coating and all that stuff, just buy a tank. Shipped to my door, a Spectra Premium from Rock Auto for Old Blue. When I bought his new rear tank, it was $130 2 years ago. So if you're in the States, you're talking likely, I don't know, $50. It's just buy the tank. 100%. Not even worth it. Regular maintenance. Yes, sir. Regular maintenance. Can you shout me out, please? Annoying monkey. This is my rule for shout-outs. I'll take a look at your channel, right? If you posted consistently, and you really want to do it, if you posted consistently based off of your time frame, and you're automotive, I got no problem shouting out anyone. But if you're asking for a shout out and, just for fun, I'm not going to do it in a main video. I'll shout you out right now. That doesn't bother me. Annoying monkey. I don't really want to call you an annoying monkey, though. Seems kind of harsh. But either way, I support. I'm very thankful that you're here and you're partaking in the live and stuff. But if you want to be shouted out on the big channel, on the main feature-length videos, post consistently for a while, be automotive-esque, I'll shout you out. This is how she goes. I'm in Manitoba, not state. Sorry, I made a typo. Oh, Evan, I thought you were stateside this entire time. I'm not sure how Manitoba is with duties and taxes and all that stuff like New Brunswick, but I know you guys pay a lot less taxes on work and all that stuff. We're the most heavily taxed province out of everything, out of the entire country, so it's awesome. But I'm only about 15 minutes from the water, so you get what you get, I guess. There's no ocean around you. I can tell you that for free. How much battery power do we got? Oh, geez, 4%. We're almost done the live stream. Greg says he's from NB here, too. Well, nice to see you. There seems to be a lot of fellas from New Brunswick that, have said hello, which is awesome. It's funny when you start making YouTube videos and all that stuff, you expect people are going to watch it, but you don't expect like your hometown, home province type people to watch. So it's funny. Just kind of neat at the end of the day. Fun fact, I've been recognized at a couple events now. Like, I only recently put an email on the channel that companies and stuff could reach out to. Haven't got any bites on stuff like that. You'll see it down the road, right? But just me filming at events, there's been a couple people come up and say, hey, I've seen a couple of your videos. There's an old couple that used to watch or that was watching Atlantic Nationals content. We went to another show after the Nationals and they came up and said, oh, I love your Atlantic Nationals content. I liked seeing all the old cars. We never got to go. I was like, oh, it's awesome. It's great. So there's a couple like that. There was 2 or 3 so far that have seen us at a different show. Usually the shows are the interaction we get with the public because we don't do meetups. Not yet. Maybe once the mega cab. Maybe once the mega cab or the international's done, then maybe we'll do like a meetup to kind of say, hey, come check out the mega cab in whatever form it is. But until that day comes, meets are the only thing. If you actually want to see me at a show, it's next week. It was supposed to be this week, but the Renaud's Mill car show, I'll be there next weekend. It was supposed to be this weekend, but got pushed back because of the hurricane. Anyway, so next weekend, I would have to look up the date. I think it's like the 21st or the 22nd or the 23rd, 24th, 25th. I don't know. Whatever that date is, it'll be next weekend. I'll be there. It'll be one of the last car shows, if the last car show of the year, that we will be filming. So if you want to come by and say hello, we'll be there for sure. This is how it is. Best channel, same with zip ties and bias plies. Yeehaw. You know what, though? Like a lot of fellas might get mad or whatever at old Peg. But fun fact, when we first started the channel, because we're doing IDI stuff, old Zippy Peg, he likely saw some of the old diesel videos that we made. But basically what I'm trying to say is he's been here since we've had 500 subscribers, 600 subscribers. He's been here for a long time. And he still actively watches a lot of our stuff. He might even be, hanging out right now. Highly doubtful. But either way, someday, if I ever make my way out west, which I plan on doing with the old international, maybe I might have to stop by and say hello to the old fella. Not sure. I'm awful thankful for a lot of the stuff that he's done for us so far. And hopefully down the road, we'll get to meet up with him as well, and you guys will be able to see it. Not his face, but you'll see a horse head or whatever. Cosby sauce, yes, sir. The 6.9 IDI Old Blue, he drank nothing but ether every morning for like 2 years consistently. And then after that, I just said, there's enough people that are mad at me for running ether in this truck. Let's just put a set of glow plugs in it and make everyone happy. And didn't that make everyone more angry than anything else? But ether won't kill an engine. I wouldn't recommend it on an engine that's been sitting for years because there's no oil on the cylinder walls. But if it's a constant runner and it doesn't start, just give it a snuff of ether. If there's no glow plugs or grid heaters or anything, you're not going to hurt it. This is how it is, especially these old fellas, like an IDI, an old Cummins 594 BT, that kind of stuff. Even a Volkswagen Jetta without the grid heater, it'll start right up. This is how she go. So before the entire live kicks out, I want to say thank you guys for anyone that's been here. We're at 1% battery life. It could literally quit at any moment, but thanks for stopping by. I hope we answered a lot of questions tonight. Hopefully down the road, we'll do another one more soon than later, I would say. But thanks for hanging out. Thanks for stopping by. And I'll see you guys in the next video, likely again on the Mega Cab. Mega Cab. Like the way it rolls off the tongue. Mega Cab. But either way, I'll see you guys then. I'll be in the comments on that one. Have yourselves a great night. If you're around the maritime area, try not to get swept away in the big old hurricane tomorrow. Batten down the hatches. All right? See you guys.